about this topic of why it is we feel so done in sometimes. Where does this energy, come from?
Why me implies I am not deserving of this, whatever is happening to me. For example, someone who's got cancer. I should not be having cancer. I've lived a good life, meaning that I had healthy meals. I exercised well.
Mm.
I'm a non-smoker and I don't consume alcohol. So why me? Where did that come from?
I don't deserve. It's happening to me.
Yes. So whether it's a health condition, a relationship problem, you can still ask the question, why me? A wife would come to me and say, I've been the perfect wife. I've done absolutely everything he's wanted me to do. I don't deserve this. He's cheated on me. Why me?
Exactly.
So it just doesn't make sense. And then you get a little child, a 5-year-old, saying, why does mommy and daddy always shout at me? I'm so obedient. I do everything that they want me to.
I mean, the one thing that's interesting about the why me energy is that it's always external. Why is this happening to me? Seems to be the common denominator. It's almost as if something external is happening and being unfairly imposed upon you. And so when we ask why me, the way in which we frame that question or feel that energy keeps us isolated and lonely, right? In that equation, whatever the dynamic or the circumstance might be, keeps us isolated when we frame it in that way. So why do you think people frame it in that way? Why me, and feeling isolated and making it about something else or someone else?
With our conditioning,
Okay.
that we constantly look outside of ourselves. We all have tendencies of behaving in certain ways.
Yeah.
And those tendencies, we may have got it from past lives. It may have been the first 7 years of our lives.
Our parents.
Yes, our parents have conditioned us
Church.
to
Yeah.
behave that way, yes.
Okay.
Everything that we've been taught is that. So if we look at a child who's sick, that child will be taken to a doctor, and the doctor will then treat the child. So it is help or healing coming from outside of ourselves.
That is so true. That is so true.
So I think it applies to all of us. If we have a problem, how often do we look at ourselves and believe that maybe I should take responsibility? Yeah. Maybe it's me. What have I done to bring about this type of situation?
Exactly.
So frequently we don't do that.
Absolutely.
Instead, we go out there to get some sort of advice, some kind of healing. And often we'd go to a GP, okay? And the GP will say, maybe you're not sleeping too well. That's why you have this problem. Maybe you've got these frequent headaches because you're stressing too much. And then, of course, they'd be given a pill. You go home. You try that repeatedly.
It's still an
It
external
just
remedy.
would not work.
Yeah, it's an external.
And then maybe if you get lucky, he would refer you to a psychiatrist. And then, of course, the psychiatrist would do pretty much the same thing. He would listen to partial history. And that partial history, you'd be given a diagnosis. And then, of course, you're medicated again. Okay. I mean, nowadays you get to see a psychologist.
Yeah.
And what the psychologist would do in most cases, again, listen to the individual.
Yeah.
Who presents the scenario of whatever the problem is. And he or she would try to pick up a pattern.
The why me pattern.
A repeated pattern of why is this possibly happening to her?
Yes.
So you look at those patterns, you look at the thoughts and the feelings and the behaviors. Okay, so that is now talk therapy.
Yes.
Okay, So when a psychologist is actually doing that, she then, or he then, would come up with a set of tools as to how the problem should be handled. The individual will go out and try those things.
Yes.
Maybe once, maybe twice, and then believe, oh, it's not working. Because all it is doing is looking at the symptoms currently, or looking at the symptoms over a brief period of time,
Yes.
not looking at the root cause of the problem. And unless the root cause of the problem somehow, either through hypnotherapy or
Yes.
through other modalities of therapy, the individual is able to see what are the actual causes of the problem, because they themselves cannot pick it up.
I mean, if I think about the why me context of blaming someone else for the situation, or blaming a person, a circumstance, a health condition, even for whatever crisis or problem that you find yourself facing, into this are going to feel a bit triggered. I deserve to feel angry about me like I was in a robbery. You can't tell me that I shouldn't be asking why me, and that's a very natural response. I'm curious to know, when people are dealing with this themselves, blaming someone or an external situation is ever justified. I mean, I know we have to take responsibility for our behavior, and yes, for those of us who want to be better human beings, we will go out and seek that specialist or anyone to assist us with that. But I mean, when are we justified in feeling that way, and when is it actually not justified? I mean, is there even a scenario where you can distinguish between the two?
But this is a very, very sensitive issue, because underlying blaming behavior is some sort of trauma that the individual had encountered. It may be something very recent, which they remember.
Yes.
It may be something that they don't remember at all. Yeah. But either which way, the person is feeling very hurt.
Yeah.
Okay, they're experiencing suffering as a result of the trauma that they had to endure. So the therapist has to take the person's feelings into consideration, show warmth, compassion. Okay, and only when all of those feelings have kind of subsided somewhat, can we delve into something like, so let's go a little deeper.
Why did you attract this
Why
situation?
did you attract this? I mean, let's look back. There may have been numerous other traumatic incidents which the person may remember. Yes. And of course, there would be others that they don't remember.
Absolutely.
And then you can pick up a pattern.
A pattern.
Yes.
So, I mean, this comes up quite often, the pattern of our patterns. When we have a pattern of blaming the world, a person, a situation, your body, even sometimes if your body's not doing what you wanted. The first instinct when we are angry is to blame. That's the first instinct. And I think that instinct is something we need to become aware of, because, when we are aware of it, we can start to hopefully change it. But I think, yes, the immediate instinct is to react to that feeling or whatever is being triggered underneath that situation. But I do 100% agree there is a pattern. If you observe yourself closely enough, you'll notice a pattern of blaming that isn't necessarily new. You would have experienced feeling why me in some other way, shape, or form in your life. And there is normally a pattern to that behavior. I think of it in terms of energy, because I'm an energy practitioner. So the energy aspect of blame energy for me is quite an interesting topic, because it's a very low frequency energy. In the scale of vibrations that a human can vibrate on, blame energy is amongst the lowest of frequencies. And, if we just take ourselves outside of the narrative of blaming and look at it from a higher perspective and understand that energy is a low draining type of energy, and it attracts low vibrational experiences, like, for instance, repeating conflict or getting into an argument with someone or constantly having things lost or stolen or whatever the pattern might be, then it definitely starts to make sense that we can transmute and change that energy. And then, of course, who you go to for that healing is entirely up to each individual. You can decide to seek a therapist, you can decide to see an energy healer, you can decide to go to your guru or your priest or a counselor, whatever the case might be, but there are a myriad of options to transmute that energy.
But I think in order to bring about an awareness and to take responsibility, it's very, very important that individuals realize that life is about challenges, and those challenges serve a purpose.
Yeah.
It is in some way to bring about our own healing.
Yes.
So you find that events will continue to repeat itself unless we somehow understand that there is a lesson. And what is that lesson?
Yep.
And with each lesson that we learn, it becomes habitual then.
Yep.
Not to blame,
Yes.
but to rather look at, why is this happening to me now? What is it that I need to learn of it?
Yeah. So not
that
why
is
me, but
crucial.
why is this happening to me? Or how rather have I attracted the situation with my own frequency? What energy am I giving off? Or what's in my field that has attracted this experience as a lesson for me to learn
Can I
something?
benefit from it? Because there's always a beneficial aspect, which initially you cannot see because you're overwhelmed with all these emotions.
Yes, absolutely.
But gradually, you get to see that.
Now, I mean, I know, well, traditional psychology will classify this question as, or put it in the box of what they call victimhood or victim consciousness.
Victim consciousness, yes.
And that topic is really interesting because victim consciousness, I mean, it really comes from a lot of trauma and suffering, really. You know, a lot of experiences of trauma and suffering and hardship that reinforce sometimes that energy or that feeling of feeling like a victim, feeling done in, feeling like things aren't going your way. And yes, you're 100% right. A lot of it is learned. Some of it can even come from your past life. And some of it is it's sitting in your field of energy that needs to be healed and transmuted. And it's true that you will keep attracting situations to that reinforce that energy. And I think, you know, understanding how energy works can be quite a lesson in the beginning, because when you attract that energy, a lot of people will say, but that's not what I want. I want a good life. I want a happy life. I don't want to be sick. I'm working hard, like you said. I'm eating all the right things. I'm on a great nutritional diet, and I'm doing whatever I need to do. And I don't want to be sick. How can you say I've attracted this? That's definitely, you know, a very common misperception of how energy actually works, because we don't attract what we think we want. We attract who we are. We attract the frequency that we emit. We attract the energy that we give off. And so you might think you are one way. You might think you are uh, a certain type of person who is healthy and fit and good and, you know, living life in the best possible way. And then when you attract these very crazy life circumstances, it feels like it's an attack on you, without understanding that you are emitting some frequency to bring that into your field, that experience.
Okay, that ties in with most psychotherapists, psychiatrists tend to work with just the mind and the body. Okay, and there are holistic healers that would work with the mind, body, spirit, or energy. Okay, but now the problem is that people seem to need to be educated about spirit or energy. Okay, and it does require, it seems, a certain ability to do that kind of introspection and get the knowledge and learn the lessons from it.
Yes. it's a journey. It's a process of learning who we are. And this is not the kind of information we are necessarily taught at school or from our parents, or even, if you go to any religious gathering. These topics are not always covered in such simplicity that you'll understand. I am not just my mind. I'm not just this body. I'm actually an emotional being, and I have multiple energetic layers to me.
Yes.
So when I heal myself, am I just healing with the plaster on the cut of just the physical body with the tablet or the medication? Am I healing the symptom, or, like you said, rightfully, am I going to the cause of where that energy sits in my field? So true.